So I just got back from watching the new Robert Zemeckis flick, Here, starring Tom Cruise and Robin Wright, and tells the interesting story, all from one perspective. Dinosaurs rampaging the land only to get killed by some kind of meteorite. From there we see Indians, we see common folk, we see the eventual build to, of course, modern times, but the film mainly focuses on Tom Hanks, Paul Bettany, Robin Wright, their lives at this house, the generations before and after. It's an interesting premise, and unfortunately, I think I prefer it as just a premise rather than an execution because, oh man. First off, the editing was not very fun. Every time there'd be a new edit, it would mask out something from the scene, and it would implement something new. It's fine the first couple times, but over the period of the movie, it just becomes distracting and takes away my immersion from whatever's happening on screen. And yes, I know I am kind of cynical with editing, but it's a movie and you usually want your editing to be, for me at least, very fast-paced, very tight, comprehensible. Obviously, this is going to appeal to older people. I mean, there were some things that I liked, don't get me wrong, but unfortunately, the editing is probably the worst crime in this movie. I thought the performances were great. Of course, you have Tom Hanks and Robin Wright. They're de-age, and I've talked about de-aging on this channel before, and my thoughts about it. For the most part, it was fine because you never really get a close-up of these people's faces. So obviously that was a good budgeting reason. It could be, I don't know. I think the most interesting character was Paul Bettany. I forgot his name. He was great. I wish the film had followed him a little bit more, but movie has to movie, I guess. But a lot of the time periods in this movie are just really scrambled to me, and it was hard to understand. The time period, obviously you had people telling you certain events that happened during certain years. Of course, there's settings. You had different cars, makes and models. Of course, television. The music was fine. To me, nothing really stood out. Again, this is Robert Zemeckis we're talking about. I look over here on his IMDb page. He's made things like Castaway, Polar Express, the Beowulf movie from 2007, which I've seen part of, and I might consider watching it. I don't know how faithful it is to the actual source material, but his last movie was Pinocchio, which also starred Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks and him, they go pretty well together, I'm not gonna lie. I think Polar Express is fine. It's not my favorite holiday movie. That goes to the Grinch, Jim Carrey.
To Ron Howard!
Something else I do want to touch on is the lack of shots in this movie. Obviously, you're in one location for a good chunk of the movie. You're going to see different decorations. You're going to see furniture rearranged. That's fine. You do see some outdoor shots. You see some, obviously, rain, thunder, sun, night. I don't know, none of these shots really stood out to me, which is a shame because, you know, whoever was in charge of cinematography obviously knew what they were doing, and I thought they did a good job, but I don't know, nothing really screamed Oscar-worthy since we're approaching award season. I don't know, this movie just really didn't do it for me. Let me know if you've seen it, let me know if you plan on seeing it, and if you have seen it, let me know what you thought about it. I think this movie's going to flop, but there is some good news. I have popcorn. I love popcorn. Don't you love popcorn? Everyone loves popcorn.